Welcome to the Way of Mastery. I had a feeling that we needed to be cozy this evening. I'm kind of freaked out at the power of what I'm studying and what I'm learning and how true it is, and how much it's changing my life. And how much it's bringing to me everything that I've ever wanted, but I didn't know how I could have it. And there's so much coming at me right now that I've always asked for. That it's put the ball of my happiness squarely in my own lap. I don't have any excuses at all for not having what I want or letting myself have it. And I know the same thing is true for everybody in here, even if everybody in here doesn't know it. So tonight, in the Way of Mastery, we're going to be on page 330. And I'm gonna cover some material like normally, about 10 minutes of material, and throw it open for questions. And it's so important to remember that you don't have to believe anything that I'm saying, because when you think you have to believe it and understand it, it blocks your. It tends to block a person's willingness to hear it. So it's a lot easier to hear something if you don't feel like you have to believe it. I specialize in weird classes. Just say weird stuff. And we're going to start in a paragraph that says, "You abide now in the perfect opportunity." You see that? Okay. Good. Then I can put this over to the side for a minute. You abide now. You abide now in the perfect opportunity to walk through your rings of fear. You live right now in the perfect opportunity to walk through your rings of fear. You're right in the middle of the perfect opportunity to walk through your rings of fear. Therefore, look well. In other words, where do you feel a contraction? Where do you feel a fear? Where are you feeling a hesitancy in your life right now? Is it in something that needs to be said to a friend? The more transparent you become, the more you merely speak when you are moved to speak. You do when you feel moved to do. You go where you feel moved to go. You laugh as you feel moved to laugh, and you cry as you feel moved to cry, which means the less resistance that you have, the less resistance that you have to the flow and movement of your life that's emanating from your own heart and soul, the more you recognize your perfect innocence, and the more you recognize the perfection of all things. When you have less resistance to the flow of movement that's emanating from your own heart. I'm trying to let go of this belief that my happiness comes from anywhere but within me. And I've been spoiled by the illusion that my happiness comes through what other people say or do, or how they act, or how they treat me, or how much love comes to me through them. There's a part of my mind that still believes that my happiness comes from something outside of me. So it's telling me that the less resistance I have to the movement of life that's coming from my own heart, that's coming from my own soul, the more I'll recognize that everything in my life is perfect. So a person that doesn't realize their life is perfect is a person who does not act from their heart. The more you do that, the more you will create for yourself a mindset, a state of being, so that when your body dissolves, that's what this book calls death, a dissolving body. And sometimes when I look in the mirror, I see it happening right in front of my own face. Some things I don't like to see dissolving. Like my hair dissolved. So I just cut the rest of it off. That's when I speed the whole thing along. If I wasn't bald, I wouldn't have any hair here. And I'd have hair around here. And it would be snow white. Just like my daddy. Joe Fred Purdy Sr. Right on, partner. The more you do that, the more you will create for yourself a mindset, a state. Now, a mindset is a state of being. So that when your body dissolves and you are in your infinite magnificence, so when you die, you go back into your infinite magnificence. Fear will not even contract you. So after you leave the body, go back into your infinite magnificence, you won't be afraid. That's what we're being told that we don't have to believe. You will simply say, oh well, what can I create now? I seem not to have a physical body anymore. How interesting. That's what we'll say, according to this. When you leave your body and you call it death, you will go, well, what can I create now? I don't have a physical body anymore. How interesting. Wow, if we really believe that, we would have such a different perception of what appeared to be the death of others and of our relatives and friends when they make that transition. Where you choose to resist moving through your rings of fear, as you know your fears exist in your current life, as you choose to resist moving through your rings of fear, as you know they exist in your current life, you are building a prison for God's child. That's you. Pure and simple. The world will tell you don't trust the impulse of your heart, not the impulse of the ego or the mind, but don't trust your heart. It's okay to trust your ego, your fear. It's okay to even trust your mind, but don't you dare follow your heart. Yet it is in the heart that the guidance of the divine speaks to you. The guidance of the Holy Spirit speaks through your heart. So you are being told, we are being told to ignore our very guidance by being told, don't follow your heart, follow your mind, follow your fears. Let your fears dictate what you do or don't do. So we need the doorway to greater God consciousness, oneness consciousness, love consciousness, truth consciousness. And that's what this next section is called, the doorway to greater God consciousness. That means the doorway to greater love consciousness. My speech may sound a little funny because I nicked my tongue. And because I've been talking a lot to a lot of people. And I've been enjoying sharing and teaching. And the part of me that doesn't want me to do it made me create a situation that would be uncomfortable for me to speak. But the one thing I don't know how to do, and I never let anything stop me from doing, is talking. So it picked the wrong arena. I've been talking for 40 years. It's going to take more than a little tongue problem. So I would like all of y'all to visualize my tongue.
Okay.
Men too. And see my tongue strong and powerful. I can tell I asked the right bunch. I love my teachers. And you all are truly my teachers. So it says, so if I sound weird, that's why. Weirder than usual. So indeed, beloved friends, in the way of knowing, there is a certainty of knowing that it is the places in which fear seems to be cropping up that is the actual doorway to greater love consciousness. The doorway to God consciousness is always in the areas of your life that your fear is popping up. There is always a doorway on the other side of a fear. So if there is something you feel fearful of sharing with another, there is your doorway. Go and share your truth for no other reason, not to persuade. Like I'm not sharing this to persuade you. Not to be right. I'm not sharing this to be right. But just to do the sharing so I can get through any rings of fear, because every time I communicate with you, I have less fear of you and I have less of a feeling of being separate from you when I communicate with any one of you. So I'm communicating not to persuade, not to be right, but to get past any fear and any separation. That's different. Starting a conversation because you want to join is different from starting a conversation because you want to persuade, or to start a conversation because you want to be right. That's all. So if you feel your heart constantly calling you to live penniless on the streets of London, and it has been calling to you for 30 years, go and sell all that you have and follow your heart. Now, I know that the world has not taught you to live in such a way. But the world, never forget, is the opposite of the truth of the kingdom, which is reality. The world, because the world is obviously the opposite of love. Obviously. The world is the opposite of unity. The world is the opposite of taking responsibility. Yeah. So, love all. Become the one that serves all. Now, how do you serve everybody? Do you know that the way that you serve everybody is by loving yourself first?
I didn't know that before.
If you're going to serve me, then you need to get on it. You need to start loving yourself first.
So that we can love you.
That's right. That's why I want y'all to get on it. So you can love me.
So that you can love you and then you can love me.
That's right. And I'm working on loving me first too. So then I can give you the love. So we owe it to everyone we know to allow ourselves to be happy and to be loving, so that we can give it, because you can't give what you don't possess. You can't give somebody some happiness you don't have, some love you don't have, some abundance you don't have. So it's not really spiritual to put yourself last. It's best to love yourself first so you'll have something to share. That's the problem now. We got too many people that don't have nothing, saying that they're going to give to somebody when they get it. That's not very helpful to anybody. At all. Period. What good is that? But it would be great for you to follow your heart no matter what your heart tells you, so that you can love yourself and then you have some love to give. Learn to be quiet. Learn to quiet the roar in the den of the world, which is nothing more than your decision to place value on how the rest of the world is thinking. So, when it seems like the world, you feel the roar of the world, and it looks like the world is so loud and it's about to overcome you, what you're really seeing is the value you have placed on how the world is thinking. So the world is interfering with me to the degree that I am valuing how the rest of the world thinks. So if I don't value how the world thinks, I'm not affected by the world. If I don't value how you think, I'm not affected by you. That's so deep.
Yeah.
If you're not giving me any value, there's nothing I can say that affects you. Because you're giving it all the value that it has. That's what I'm saying. Now, I'm going to open it up in a second. This is a deep book, isn't it? Serve only the voice of truth within yourself. That voice of truth within you is the voice that says, go start a garden today. First you think, oh yes. Then you realize, I don't know how to start a garden. Okay, great. The Course in Miracles talked about it, how we develop this willingness after all this studying, and all of a sudden we go, but I don't know what the willingness is for. I got all this willingness, but I don't have the same values I used to have. So now I got all this willingness, but I'm not wanting to do the same thing I used to want to do. So now I got all this willingness, I don't know what to do with it. Right? And some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. See, there was a time in my life that I wanted to, what the Course in Miracles says you want when you are not awake yet. You primarily want power, personal ego power. You want fame or specialness. You want money, and you want physical pleasure. Those are what drives a person until they start to get in touch with what they really want. Those are the primary goals. And that was pretty much mine, with special emphasis on one of those. Some people it's about the money, some people it's about the power, some people it's about the physical pleasure. But that's usually, if you're going to get the attention of most people, you have to say, what I'm about to teach tonight will bring you power, fame, money, and physical pleasure. Waking up to your eternal self. Having unlimited awareness that transcends the body, that connects with all of all, that can never be injured in any way, that's totally joyful, it never ends in its enchanting happiness and joy. Give me some power, give me some specialness, give me some money, and make me feel good. That's what I want. That defines most Sunday afternoons in front of the TV or whatever we're doing. It's all about comfort. Right? So he says, go start a garden. Some would say this is living from your authenticity. I do not speak of what is authentic as being what the mind thinks, because that is its social image. This is not authentic at all. That is a mask. Your social image is just a persona. I show you all the social image that I believe would be acceptable to you, that would not frighten you and make you feel separate from me. That's all you see. I'm acting the way I think I should so that I don't scare the hell out of all of y'all.
Scares.
You know? And you're showing me the social image that you think is appropriate in this moment also. Are you not? Okay. That's not authentic. That's a mask. It's a persona. So what is authentic is what you feel in the core and in the depth of your being in innocence. So when you're feeling guilty, you're not feeling authentic, and you're not really feeling your true self. And if you feel guilty and afraid all the time, you're out of touch with your authentic self all the time. So what do I mean by that? If you have an innocent heart, you're not needy. An innocent heart doesn't require selected individuals to agree with it. So at the point that I truly know my innocence and who I really am, I will not require anyone to agree with me. And I won't wait until the universe nods its head in approval. And I just know I'm innocent. I act from my innocence. And guess what? I'm not attached to the opinions of the world. See, it's telling us how you are when you're sane and when you're really loving yourself and you really achieve the goal that we're studying the book for. So how will you know? Well, you won't be needy. You won't need anybody to agree with you. You won't need anybody else's approval. You will know you're innocent and loving. You will act from your innocence and loving nature, and you won't be attached to anybody's opinion while you're doing it. That's a happy person walking through the day. Authenticity is the core through which the Christ mind or the love mind grows. So anytime you look and see that you haven't been living authentically, when you realize you haven't been coming from your innocence, you've been needing approval, you are attached to opinions, you want people to agree with you, it says when that happens, because you're not living authentically, take a deep breath and let all your illusions be shattered. So how do you let all your illusions be shattered? How do you let all your false ideas about yourself be shattered? He says, by becoming transparent. How do you become transparent? By telling the truth. So you shatter your fear by becoming transparent. You become transparent by starting to tell the friggin' truth and being authentic. See how we get one answer after another answer after it'll present the premise of how you have the innocent self or how you have the loving self, and then it comes right behind it and tells you exactly what you need to do it. Exactly what you need to do to have it. And it says, you allow whatever changes that need to occur, then indeed you're growing your love mind, which is your Christ mind. So I am going to say right now, I allow whatever changes that need to happen in my life to happen. I allow any changes that need to happen in my life to happen. I allow any changes that need to happen in my relationships to happen. I allow any changes that need to happen in my teaching ministry to happen. I allow it, 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 I allow it. In the way of knowing, you ask yourself consistently, where am I being inauthentic? Where am I being inauthentic? Where am I acting from guilt? Where am I acting from needing approval? Where am I acting from needing someone else's opinions to be okay to be who I really am? Because that's you being inauthentic. So he's saying all day long, you ask yourself, where am I being inauthentic? Where am I just showing up the way I think Harry down the street needs me to show up? Where am I being a vegetarian so that I can feel superior to those that aren't?
What's up?
Got a little sprout snobbery going on. Oh, God.
Vegetarians smell better, though.
Jesus.
Well, I know people who just love the smell of a good armpit. It's all a matter of the meaning you give to it in the taste. That's right. You know, it's like, frankly, I would prefer my lover didn't smell like celery.
That's right.
That's just me. That's just me. What's really, you know you're making it to a high level of consciousness when you start to say, whatever you are saying is just a point of view.
Yeah.
Then you go, and that's a lot of times when people get ready to defend themselves against something I've said, I always try to remind them, hey, I'm just giving you a point of view. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying you're wrong. This is just my point of view. So we don't have to get into a battle as to whose point of view is correct, because I'm not going to engage. Because I know mine is. Isn't that open-minded? You could have swore that was open-minded.
You'll get it. Keep studying.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. What I realized is that truth is like a many-faceted diamond. And so there's many ways to look at the same thing. And so it's actually entertaining to be willing to hear someone else's point of view. Because actually they're giving you another way of looking at it so you could have another experience of the same thing. Which cut way down on boredom.
One of my favorite ways of describing that is that if you're in Florence, Italy, and you're in the art museum and you're looking at the David from behind, you're missing a really good view. Still beautiful.
Thank you for sharing. Where am I being a vegetarian so that I can feel superior? Not that I'm being a vegetarian because I think that's be cool. It says, where am I being a whatever I am so that I can feel superior to those who aren't? Where am I controlling my diet because I'm afraid that this substance will make me less spiritual? Because we've already said the vegetarian is more spiritual than the person that eats meat.
Who said that?
That's what the people who look at it as if it's a superiority thing.
Okay.
They think somehow that makes them a higher level of consciousness. You see, there's a difference between doing something because it feels authentic to you in your heart and doing it just so you can feel superior and special. That's what we're being told. It's not criticizing people who want to be vegetarians. It's saying, what is the reason that you're doing it for?
Motive.
What's your motive? And then it says, where am I denying my humanity in order to present an image to another? Where am I getting up and going to the same job every day when I know in the depth of my being I just don't want to go there anymore and be there anymore? I put it this way. Where am I putting myself in a relationship where I know in the depth of my being that I just don't want to be there anymore? Live authentically. To live authentically, in some sense, is to live alone. To live alone means that you no longer are run by needing to look a certain way, succeed in a certain way, so that the judgment of the world will nod its head and give you a 10 instead of a 1. In the way of knowing, the mind comes to grasp the simple metaphysical truth, which is, I and I alone am creating my tomorrows. I and I alone am creating what's going to happen to me tomorrow. I'm the one that's creating what's going to happen to me tomorrow. I am the one creating what's going to happen to me tomorrow. I'm the one creating what's going to happen to me later this evening. If I create inauthenticity right now, I can rest assured that I will experience it tomorrow. Whatever I'm creating right now, I'm going to experience it tomorrow. Interesting. Again, it's not about agreeing with it. It's about hearing it. So if I create imprisonment for my soul now, I will experience it tomorrow. Yeah, if you don't pay your car note, you experience the repossession tomorrow. You know, whatever I'm doing now, it does appear in time as if I experience the effect of it some point in the future. You know, if I don't get a dental checkup, it looks like in the future I might have a cavity fill. That's what we're being told. That whatever I'm doing right now is what I'm going to experience. So am I being authentic right now? Am I acting from my heart right now? Or am I doing what I think my social image requires? Beloved friends, you were created to create. You were created out of an overflow of joy. You were created out of an overflow of love. Therefore, live joyously. Live lovingly of yourself. Live lovingly of yourself. In other words, whenever you read something, you could go in other words and then read the next sentence because it's just going to restate it another way. Mm-hmm. Dare to consider that yourself is so important. You are so important that you have an obligation. You have an obligation never to settle for less than your own authenticity. Mm-hmm. You have an obligation to never settle for less than being yourself. Sometimes that requires beginning the process of discovering what is authentically yours and not merely the influence of others. What is it that I really want, and how much of what I'm doing is really what I think somebody else around me wants me to do? How much are you doing that you think someone else wants you to do? And how much are you doing that's following your heart? Where are you still being inauthentic? Where are you responding with a smile when you know you were royally PO'd? Where are you responding with an okay when inwardly the answer is no? Where are you responding in fear to the substance you are putting in your body? For example, I can't eat that because that's a very bad substance and I want to be happy. I can't eat that because it's a very bad substance and I want to be happy. It is the very fear that is creating a tomorrow of unhealthiness. It's interesting, unhealthiness. In other words, it's love that heals all things. It's love that transmutes all things. It's love that embraces all things. And as soon as you embrace it, you transcend it because you have to be bigger than it to embrace it. So you have to be bigger than the problem to embrace it, to release it, to transcend it. You can't transcend something you're smaller than. You can only transcend something that you can embrace that you're larger than. That's when we embrace it. So if I want to transcend limitation, I must allow for everything that I am experiencing in my life to exist. And say everything in my life right now, I allow it. I allow it, I allow it, I allow it, I embrace it, I embrace it, I embrace it, then I can transcend it. So where are you not allowing love to be your reality? Where are you not allowing love to be real? These are the kind of questions that are guaranteed to put people to sleep. Some of you may find yourself wanting to doze off right now. Because I'm asking the questions that will get you out of your own inauthenticity. So I'll stop right here. Any questions or any comments or any realizations about what you heard so far?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
When it says, let your illusions be shattered by becoming transparent, telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So when it talks about the truth, is it me telling myself the universal truths that we're studying, or is it me speaking my personal truth?
Both.
Okay.
It's both.
Okay.
See, I would have really intimate relationships for real if I wasn't afraid of losing the person I wanted to be intimate with.
Based on your personal truths.
Right. In other words, I would tell you the absolute truth about everything that was true for me in my relationship if I wasn't afraid of losing you because of something I might say to you, which makes me be inauthentic in my relationship with you.
So it's more of a personal.
It's a personal thing. And the truth is, I'm the one that's giving myself this feeling that I need to tell you about right now. I'm the one that's making me feel this way and think this way, but this is what's coming up for me. This is how I'm making myself feel. This is what I would like to share with you. This is what I like another way to look at, because I'm seeing it this way. Notice that in my sharing with you, I'm not saying the word you. So the best way to communicate with a person is don't use the word you as much as possible. Try to leave you out of the conversation, because all you're going to do is make them defensive. So to me, being transparent is to tell you everything that I'm feeling, as well as putting the truth in there, which is me taking responsibility what I'm feeling, and trying not to hold you responsible for. But I'm going to be authentic enough to tell you what's going on, so that together we'll say something like this. What would be our most evolved response to this situation, or to what you just said to me? Dear Susan, you just shared something with me. What would be our most evolved response that we could use in this situation that we were just talking about with each other? See, there's a way to be authentic that doesn't bring up people's egos if you're willing to learn.
Because their truth might be totally different from your truth.
Well, the Course in Miracles teaches that actually the biggest, one of the main concepts that makes for total chaos and lack of joining in communication is when someone tells you that they have their own truth. Because I can't know your truth. You can't know my truth. I can't live by your truth. You can't live by my truth. So there is a truth beyond all of our versions of truth that is the real truth. The only thing that's individual is the way we get to it. You follow what I'm saying? It's like there's one unity temple, but we came from different directions. The problem is when you say your direction to Unity Temple is better than my direction in the way that I came to Unity Temple. So to me, when someone says my truth, they're just talking about their perception of things. You're getting ready to tell me your belief about something, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's true for me, and it doesn't necessarily mean I have to live by it, and it doesn't necessarily mean I'm a bad person because I don't live by your truth.
Yeah.
Which is what people get upset with. It's like you tell me your truth, and I'm supposed to, if I don't do it the way you want me to do it, then I'm a bad person and I need to apologize.
Yeah. That's why I was asking about it being the universal truths that we're learning here.
That too.
Because that seems more real than
it wouldn't be
individual.
It would only be real if you were not repressing something that you felt needed to be said in the name of saying, I'm just going to say the universal truth. But we're talking about being authentic.
Right.
So if I'm being authentic, nothing I think and nothing I say contradicts how I act and what I do. If I'm doing anything less than that, I'm being inauthentic. And we're so used to doing that there's a part of us that wants to justify continuing to be that way. Because some part of us is afraid of the loss that we think we would entail if we were really honest with ourselves and someone else about everything. You see what I'm saying? Because our past experience has been, sometimes we got attacked when we did that, misperceived when we did that, or it even looked like we lost the person that we loved because we did that. But what we forget is that still does not mean that wasn't the right thing to do, and it doesn't mean that you were not being authentic. You did anything wrong. You were being authentic. But what we're not responsible for and what we can't control is someone else's reaction to the truth that we share when we're trying to be transparent. And we want some kind of assurance. I put it this way. Some people want some kind of assurance that when they tell their truth, the other person is going to like it and everything is just going to be great. So unless I think you're going to react to what I'm telling you in a loving, peaceful way, then I don't want to say it to you. And that's not authentic, even though you might do it, and that's okay if you choose to do it. You're not guilty and bad, but that you're still not being authentic yet.
So it takes real courage to really speak.
Yeah, you have to absolutely love yourself to do it.
It takes practice too.
And absolutely, everything we're saying does. There's nothing that this book is saying to us that's ever going to be real if we never practice it. So I try to stack the odds in my favor. And I do that by trying to be in intimate relationships with people that I think I love and that I think loves me, that I feel safe with, that want to do the same thing, but without attacking each other. That's how I cheat. Which
Earl?
really is not cheating. That's really what you do when you're saying, while you're practicing, until you get to that point that you could even be saying it to a person that you did not feel connected to, and you didn't feel love between you, and you still feel okay about sharing your truth. Because the truth is, those people are going to be very much in the minority of your life. You follow what I'm saying? I come across a person who seems to be opposing me maybe once every year or two. And then the rest of the time, I'm with people who share my purpose, who want to evolve, who want to be able to communicate, who want to be authentic without attacking each other, or at least are working on it. So when you really make your own personal evolution more important to you than anything else, nothing can stop you. That's how you know it's not what you want above all else. Something can stop you. Nothing can stop you if it's something you want above all else, because everything else comes second to it. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like an aha, I guess. If you
Okay.
if you-
Cool. That's
in
what
the-
we was. Yeah.
In the beginning of the class, you were talking about, like, think of the area of your life that you have fear about, and mine is kind of my living situation, because I've been thinking about moving to Cali, and now I have some stuff going on with my landlord. Anyway, then you said follow your heart, and that's kind of what got me out here, because I did the same thing coming to Colorado. Like, I just went because it felt like the right thing. But I guess I was kind of like waiting for some kind of sign or something, or I don't know, to feel comfortable. But anyway, then you said that example of, like, if your heart tells you to go to London, and that just really hit home. So.
And here's how you could tell. You go to London. You go to London. I know I know that sounds deep, but I have to say that again slow. So how can you tell when your heart is really into something? You're doing it. You're not anticipating doing it. You're not analyzing doing it. You're not waiting for anything. You are doing it. How do you transcend your ego? You act from the truth that you know right in this moment, and then you will transcend your fear. So you are on the way to following your heart, because you're trying to go through the rings of fear that keep you from really being clear about what it is right now. Because when you know, that question won't even be relevant, because you won't let anything stop you. When I came here, I didn't know where I was going to live, didn't have a car, and I was told to go. My heart said I needed to be here, and I came. And within a month, everything I needed had been provided, more than I could have imagined, even though I had no idea how it was going to happen before I followed my heart, the Holy Spirit. He said the heart is the Holy Spirit and the higher self. And when you're following that, you seem to have some courage that you don't even understand your courage. That's why when I'm talking to people and they're trying to figure out whether or not this is what they should be doing, it's like, you wouldn't be doing that if you knew that was what you should be doing. You're trying to figure it out because you're still trying to choose between two different things. And the Course says when you're trying to choose between two different things, they're both illusions. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. Just pick one, because they're both equally unreal. Is a red Bugs Bunny realer than a green Bugs Bunny? Oh, I'm so puzzled. So just choose one. Both of them unreal. Bugs Bunny isn't real. So if it's real, I'm not torn. And so people tend to act so little from their authentic self and heart at first that it seems rare that anybody even knows what it feels like. Then your ego gets scared and goes, but how are you going to make it? How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to do this? You know what I'm saying? Because you're not following your heart, so now your fear can be your decision maker. Because you're not, and so people who follow their heart don't make any sense to people who only live out of their fear based reality, because their life is all about the security urge. They don't know how to do anything out of creativity, authenticity, and love. As a matter of fact, it looks impractical to them. So a person who's following their heart will look impractical to a person who's just trying to do what they've been culturally taught that they should do out of fear to survive. They're innocent, but they'll never understand a person that's courageous. Because the ego's job is to keep everything the same. It's trying to keep everything the same. It's trying to make the job stay stable, the mate stay stable, the money. It's trying to keep everything the same. And in trying to keep everything the same, that's how you keep yourself from having any joy. Because joy and happiness comes from letting all things change, because that's the one thing that you can count on in this plane. So if you're fighting change, you're literally fighting your own happiness. But the fearful minds try to make what's permanent temporary, and fearful minds try to make things that change stay the same. I want my mate to be the same today, and as they were yesterday, as they're going to be 10 years. I want to be able to count on that. That will never happen. Ever, ever happen. Because nothing stays the same. So he says, as soon as you start to welcome change, you can experience the most positive aspect of change that's possible, which is a change for what you would call the better. He says that we associate change, all fearful minds associate change with something changing into something worse than it is. So the average person, when you said change, they become afraid because they think change only has to go in the direction of somehow or another things are not as good for me now. The average person never thinks of change as making things better for them if they're fearful. So that's what he's trying to get us to understand, that you have to embrace change and stop fighting it so that you can truly be happy. Wow, that relationship changed. I'm going to embrace that because all changes are helpful. All changes are helpful. Every change you've ever gone through has been helpful. Wow. Anybody else? Yes.
I have a question about that. So I liked what you were talking about, how if you're at a crossroads and you're torn between the two and the direction's not clear, then they're both illusion. And I kind of had this aha because I was thinking about times in my life where like I just knew with like everything, and there's resistance and fear and stuff, but it was just like I knew what I was supposed to do, and then everything fell into place and miraculous things happened. But I was wondering if you're in that position then and you're like at a crossroads and you know you have that awareness that both are illusion, then what is there a wrong choice? I mean, like, do you wait till the path is clear?
Both. If both choice, the Course teaches that you don't have a real choice until you're choosing between two different things. That is not a real choice when you're choosing between the appearance of two different things that are really the same. So, if in other words, if I have a relationship with you and I'm using the same attitude in my relationship with you as I'm using in my relationship with her, then I really haven't made a change no matter which one of you that I choose. Because I'm going to use the same point of view and beliefs. In other words, you're not really choosing something different until your purpose is radically different. The Course teaches that a change of mind is nothing but a radical shift in your purpose. So it's not until you've changed your purpose that you really change your mind. So you have to ask yourself, what do I want this for? What is the purpose? What do I treasure? How much do I treasure it? And then bring it back to the situation or circumstance that you think you're dealing with. You have to get clear about what you want before you know how to evaluate a situation. So I need to get clear about the two things that I think I'm choosing between. And the Course teaches that there are no two things in the world that have the same amount of appeal. That whole notion that you can have, that two things have equal appeal is untrue. He says, if you would be honest and authentic with yourself and go within, you would see that one of them has more appeal than the other. And so out of even those two illusions, there would be one of them that would appeal to you more than the other. So go ahead and choose it, since it doesn't make any difference, but at least you're choosing the illusion that would be the most peaceful for you until you get to the truth behind it. You follow what I'm saying? If there are two things I'm trying to choose between, then and they can't have equal appeal, which one is the one that has the most appeal to me? If I would really take the time to go then and ask myself, what is it I really value and what is I really want, I'll see that one of those are more in line with it than the other one is. But the average, and I keep saying the average person because that's what, the average person doesn't do that. They don't step back and go, oh, let me see which one of these do I really want based on what is it that I really want. Let me get back and ask myself, what do I really want? What do I really treasure? And how much do I treasure it? And he says that when you do that, everything that is opposite to that or would block that or that's not true to that will make itself seen. Wow. So in other words, if I say I will only be in a relationship where we have loving communication with each other, I would immediately become aware of every place in my relationship that we don't have peaceful, loving communication with each other. But it wasn't until I said I wanted real peaceful communication above all else that I saw everything that was the opposite to that I needed to let go of, so that I would know what to choose. Because he says you can't choose anything until you know the difference between them. And so this book and the Course in Miracles says that all I'm trying to teach you all is one thing: how to tell the difference between when you're dealing with something that's real and when you're dealing with something that's not, which is going to end up disappointing you. And once you know the difference between the two, I trust you will make the right choice. But first you have to know the difference between the two. Love is not guilt. Love is not attack. Love is not limitation. You see what I'm saying? Love is not constant anger. So once I learned that that's not what love is, and that's what you're giving me all the time, then I know you don't love me, and you're not expressing love to me in that moment. And if I can recognize what's not love, I won't go toward that, and I'll go toward what is love. And so I save myself the pain of getting involved where there's not real love, and then trying to find a way to get myself either out of it or spend all my time trying to change my perception of it. Because I shouldn't have got in it in the first place. So now Spirit says, okay, you didn't pay attention again, you did your pattern again, so what we're going to do is we're going to make it a lesson that you need to learn. And we'll call it a lesson. Okay, that'll make you feel better, right? Instead of just going, you did the same dumb thing again. We will call it a spiritual lesson, so that you won't feel so stupid for doing it again. Okay? It's like, oh, you're so sweet, Holy Spirit. Thanks for having mercy on me. So if you have something that you want, let's say over here, and then there seems to be a barrier or a block or something that's coming up between you and it, the Course teaches that the attraction of the thing beyond the barrier, the attraction of the thing beyond the obstacles that have come up, the attraction of the thing beyond the challenges that have come up, if you really want it, the attraction to it, because you really want it, he says, will pull you past the barrier. So the reason why people get stopped at a barrier is that they're not really asking for what they really want.
And there's a substance to the barrier too, right? Things to be taken from it.
If you won't go beyond it, then you can use the barrier as another opportunity to say, I'm learning a lesson. Same face again. Do y'all follow that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been there before. You wanted something so bad that you didn't let anything stop you. Sometimes I've seen people who said they don't have money to do nothing. And I talked to them, and that's next time I said, where you been? I've been to India. Why? They wanted to go to India. And they didn't let anything stop them from getting to India. The only thing that ever stops you is what you say you want isn't what you really want.
Or if it's not, you think, well then if you think that it's what you want, but it's not what you want.
Then you can be stopped.
Yeah.
But if it's not what you're sure you want,
what if you
I
think
said
that
again.
it is something that you want though, but it's really not good for you, and the universe knows that it's not good for you?
then that would be you trusting that if it doesn't happen, it's for your own best interest, because what you want is the universe to be in charge more than you. So you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay, Holy Spirit, you're in charge. What I really want is you, higher power. What I really want is you, higher self. And so I give you the power of attorney. I give you the right to overrule my desire, because I don't really know what's best for me anyway. Now, I will warn you, when you do that, most of the things you ask for won't happen.
That kind of sucks.
Well, if it's doing it the way you want it and doing it according to your wishes, that's produced the lack of satisfaction that you have so far. It's your plan that's always failed. So just because you come up with another one and say you want God to make it work isn't the same as saying that plan that you made is the best one for you or the one that would work. So what we really want, until we begin to wake up, we really want God to be like a genie that we rub God's belly and tell God what it is we want, and God just fulfills our wishes without question. That's the average. We call that manifesting. It goes by the code word manifesting. It's just like a little baby saying, give me these scissors, I want to play with these scissors. They're so pretty. And then you take the scissors from the baby because you know the baby might poke his eye out. The baby starts to scream. Would you give the baby the scissors again because the baby is crying because you took them? No. So even though you crying and screaming because it didn't work out the way you wanted to, that's you crying and screaming because the universe won't give you back the scissors you like to play with.
So if you give it over to Spirit to make the decisions for you and to be in charge, then those barriers aren't really barriers at all.
They're never barriers to what God wants for you. They're only barriers to what you want for yourself, separate from God. There is no opposition when I say my will is thine. Though that which loves me, that which really loves me and created me, I'm going in agreement with your will, which is for my perfect happiness.
So you don't have to perceive it as a barrier at all, because anything that might look to you like a barrier when God's in charge is just your own idea of a barrier because you don't like it.
Right, but you're going to get past that barrier if your desire to do the will of love is stronger than anything.
Yeah.
See, the person who only wants to experience love and to be loved and to give love, then nothing can stop them from receiving it. So ask yourself this question. Does my life as I'm experiencing it reflect what I say I want above everything? Be with that question. Is your life right now a reflection of what it is you say you really want above everything? Because if it's not, what you're seeing is what you really value more than what you say you want. So you can say you want to be rich above all else, but if you see yourself as poor, the truth is you see poverty as more important than knowing your abundance, no matter what you're saying, because what you actually manifest is what you actually want. No matter what you're saying, this is really what you're valuing. And what you're really valuing is what you are experiencing. That's the way the universal law works. So people can always work back to their beliefs if they would start with the effect. And people won't do that. It's like You can tell me all day long that you believe in prosperity is money. If you believe in prosperity is money, in many ways the prosperity, expressed. But if you say you believe in prosperity is money, that's your belief, but you don't have any, then that effect is showing you that you are afraid of prosperity as money, because it's only fear that blocks anything. Fear is the only, that of course says fear and guilt are the same thing. It says that's the only thing that's blocking what's real, what's really would bring you happiness. One of the most awesome realizations on the spiritual path is when you wake up one day and you go, I would love to experience what it is I would be experiencing if I would be making the statement, I'm completely fulfilled and happy. I would really, what would it take for me to experience right now what I would be experiencing if I was telling people I was completely happy and fulfilled? Try that one.
What was that question you
The question is
going back.
Yeah, it's okay. What would I be experiencing? What would it take for me to experience what I would be experiencing if I was to say I was completely happy and mean it? Who would I be with? Where would I be living? What country would I be in? You see what I'm saying? Because our error is we think we already know what that looks like, and then we're trying to fit everything and everyone into that fantasy that we made up about what it should look like. That's the way that you know what I'm saying? First, we decide something's going to make us happy, then we try to make everything conform to that and support that, rather than go, what would it take for me to experience whatever it would be, whatever relationship it would be, that I would say to someone, I'm in a relationship that I'm experiencing total fulfillment and total happiness in. Try that. Live in the question, not the conclusion. And the Course is full of questions. Like notice that every time I read, every few minutes you hear me say, it'll ask a question. What would you be thinking? Where are you feeling? It's no accident that we're being asked these questions, because when you speak in questions, then that means you have more of an open mind, because you're not talking like you already know what's going on. That's why you're asking the question. I'm suspicious of people who I'm around and they never ask me anything about what I think or feel, and I'm never asking them anything about what they think or feel. Why? Unless I already judged you as understood by me. It must be something I've come to a conclusion about. So I'm not asking you any more questions. Deep. These are just things, these are points of view. Don't forget, these are points of view. In other words, I wish I could make any form of happiness be because of a complicated reason. It would probably make everybody feel so much better if they could say the reason why they're not happy is because of some complicated issue that hasn't been solved, that started when they were a little child. But it's time for that story to walk. That story's got to go now. There are no excuses if you're to the point that you're sitting in a room with me. Some part of you is ready to transcend your story. And remember, you only stay in a situation that keeps you suffering because there is a payoff in it that means more to you than the suffering you're going through. And you think the suffering that you're going through is a small price to pay for something of greater value. He says, then tell yourself, there is no gain at all to me in this. And then you will begin to be released from it. Because it's because you think it's a benefit to it that you stay with it. So you got to tell yourself, it would just sound so different from what people think it was positive thinking. Like if you were to be with someone, and let's say you're really having a challenge in that relationship, and you know your heart isn't in it anymore, but you're suffering and you're staying in it because maybe it's security. Maybe you think that it gives you so much security that it's worth dealing with the suffering that you're going through, like most people do with jobs, right? You know, you're not going to leave it until you say, there's no benefit at all to me in being in this job. There's no benefit at all to me to staying in this relationship. Because when you see that there is no benefit to you, your mind will naturally let it go. As long as you keep telling yourself it's a benefit to you to stay in a painful situation because it's giving you a payoff, you'll stick with it. Now here's the paradox of truth, because truth has many paradoxes for to drive you crazy. You say, I do not perceive my own best interest in this relationship or situation, and then follow it up with everything is for my own best interest in this relationship or situation. It seems totally paradoxical, but it'll free you. If you say it, you'll feel you will feel your body kind of lighten up. I'm in this situation right now. Well, I don't perceive my own best interest in this situation. Everything is for my own best interest in this situation. Try it and see if you don't watch your body go.
Does that have anything to do with humility, Earl?
As long as you don't.
What is the purpose or the meaning of humility? And how's that?
A course perspective of humility, you would be humble if you were accepting that you were very powerful and very loved and very brilliant and very vast and very unlimited. Because humility would be you accepting your definition of yourself as being the same definition that God has of you, which would be that you are valuable and you are priceless and you are loved. So when you're really being truly humble, you're accepting the truth about yourself without a lot of pride, but just that's the way it is. The Course says we look at humility as self-debasement. So we think humility is putting yourself down. If I tell you you're a brilliant, beautiful person and you go, oh, not me, not me. No, I'm not really that way. I don't say you can even say that about me. We think that's humility, so that's just debasement of yourself. I went, whoa, that's the truth. We do see humility. You compliment somebody and see if the average person just receives it and said thank you, or if they don't come back with, oh, no, not me. Oh, no. So we think being humble is putting ourselves down, not acknowledging our brilliance and our beauty. And when someone does, people who don't feel that way about themselves call that person arrogant. Like if a person does say, yes, I was at a gathering on Saturday night that was called, one thing was called a white party, and it didn't mean just because it was white people. But it was very interesting because there were beautiful people dressed in all kinds of beautiful, unusual ways, any way that they felt like. And like some people might be dressed like a rabbit, and then there might be somebody else dressed like a fairy, and there might be somebody else with a cool looking gown. I mean, it was. I'm invited to social events where people are able to authentically be however they feel like they want to be without trying to meet the conditions that society and culture sets on them for how they are supposed to act. The code name is people who are fun.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I noticed about what appeared to be about the women and the young women in all ages I saw there was I could tell they thought they were attractive. And the men did too. It was real interesting being in a room full of people where the women felt they were beautiful and the men felt like they were beautiful. It is so cool. The energy of people who feel good about the way they look, or they think they're pleasant, or it's an energy of sharing. So every minute I was seeing somebody hug somebody. I was seeing somebody grab somebody and hug them. I was seeing people holding each other, taking pictures. It was this one act of love after another act of joining, after another act of joining, because it appeared as if the primary vibration was not insecurity and fear. So it's an entirely different energy when you go to gatherings with people who feel insecure and fearful, because they are severely limited in the way that they choose to express themselves. So generally nothing interesting happens. So over here there are people doing fire dancing. Over here there's people hanging up and doing acrobats. I'm like, and I realized the reason why I was there was because I wasn't judging them. All of a sudden it hit me like, why are you here? You're not judging. Because if you were judging, you would never be here. Because your judgments would never allow you to even have an experience like this. So I go back and forth between two worlds all the time. There's the world I live in my personal life, and in the world I live in my public life. And they're as different as night and day in terms of my intimate relationships and the way I experience things. But it's all appear to be happening in the same world. So it proves we do live in two worlds. And so we're being told that right now. It says, consider the theme of this lesson. Don't be in a hurry to merely put this lesson aside. Read it a few times. And wherever you see a question instead of a statement, pause and spend some time considering the question quietly, as though you were allowing the answer to emerge from your innocence. Then ask yourself, what changes can I make so that I am truly showing up in a more authentic way? Notice it's a question. Didn't tell you to come up with what you needed to do. It said, do what? Ask yourself in innocence, what changes can I make so that I am truly, no kidding, showing up in a more authentic way? For those of you that truly choose to, you will find that if you abide with the message of this lesson, if you engage the simple, quiet questions that I ask, if you contemplate certain key thoughts that were repeated, much movement can occur. A lot of liberation can occur. You are the Christ, which means you are the one self that is joined with all. We are one self joined with our Creator. And you are free in the world of space and time to know it as deeply as possible. And with that, peace, which is the same as total fulfillment, be with you always. Would you acknowledge yourself, Holy Spirit, for hearing this much? It's important to love self. Remember, we got to love ourselves. You know, again, when it said love yourself, you be tempted to grab your body. You go, oh, I'm loving myself, as if your body is yourself. It's so funny. Your body is in yourself. Your body is not yourself. Your body is in yourself. Now that's deep. You're bigger than your body. So, let's do the financial expression of appreciation. I appreciate y'all sharing with me, and I love sharing with you. So I hope you don't see it as a sacrifice in any way. Those of you on the internet, thank you for your financial expressions of appreciation. You can make a financial expression of appreciation at my website, earlpurdy.com. I do this full time in the world, so thank you. And also available for personal sessions called Clarity Sessions, where I bring all of this information and everything I've studied for 40 years into our session to heal whatever your issue is, and I also use astrology and numerology for those who are open to it. Go to my website and it explains it, and also go to my website and sign my contact list so that I can send you links to the classes that I video directly to your mailbox. I'm here to support you. Those of you who really want it, I'm here for you. That's what I'm here for. That's why I was born. And I want that more than anything else. So that makes sense. In Sunday at 1 o'clock, Course in Miracles class. The attraction of the thing beyond the obstacle will take you beyond the obstacle. What do I really want? What's such a trip about really getting clear about what you really want? Now, I'm going to tell you what would be a great thing to really want. To really want to evolve more than anything else in this world. That will take care of everything else. More than anything in this world, I want to evolve to the highest level that is capable of me evolving. Will take care of your financial problems, your career problems, your relationship problems, and everything else. That's what it suggests. To say, more than anything else, I want to be a conduit for love to come through, God to come through, truth to come through. That is the desire that will take care of everything else. Like it says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and everything else will be added. That's the same thing. A beautiful relationship, if you choose one, it would just be a natural part of wanting to be the greatest you could ever be within yourself, and the most loving you could ever be, and the most conscious you could ever be. But remember, when you say that, the dragon's going to come out the cave. Okay, I'll say that again. When you really say I'm ready to go for it, the dragon's going to come out the cave.
Yeah, really.
Everybody know about the dragon?
Yeah, that dragon.
Okay, what will get you past the dragon?
Learn how to ride it.
Good luck. I root for you. What to get you past the dragon is the attraction of the love and the authenticity and the fulfillment and the connection to source that you want beyond the fear. You'll always be stopped if you don't want the thing beyond the fear. So if you're not sure you want it, check this out. If you're not sure you want it and you have an obstacle, then don't pursue it.
Yeah.
If you're not sure you want it and you seem to be running up against obstacles, it's not what you should pursue. If you know you want it and obstacles seem to be coming up, but you know you want it, then don't let the obstacles stop you. See the difference? One, I kind of think I want, kind of think,
So maybe
want.
coming from ego and the other one's coming from spirit.
What's that?
Maybe one's coming from ego and the other one's coming from spirit, because that's what I keep thinking. It's not like I'm asking my ego what I want. I'm really wanting to get in touch with what spirit wants from me, what God wants from me, getting in touch with that, the unity and the connection
Absolutely.
of source.
Absolutely. But I also want to share something that can make it easier. I think instead of trying to decide whether it's my ego or not, apply the truth to everything. Stop trying to decide where to apply the truth. Apply it to everything. Whether you think it's an ego desire or whether you think it's a spiritual desire, it doesn't matter. I want a TV set. I'm not going to let my bad credit stop me. My desire for the TV set took me to the rental center. You see, even at the ego level, it still works. I want to be with this person. They have some habits that I don't like. Is my desire to be with you will take me past the habits that you have that I don't like. See, always the desire of the thing past the obstacle will pull you past the obstacle. So that's why it's really great to, now, of course, at a spiritual level, we want to go to that level that we're saying, what I really want is the truth. What I really want is my awakening. What I really want is to be joined with God. And nothing my ego comes up with, I'm not going to let that stop me. But it can be anything. I want a brand new car. The obstacle seems to be my credit or whatever. But if you really want a car,
That's true.
somehow or another, a car is going to show up. If you really want it. I didn't have one and I had 3 offered to me and I hadn't been here a month. But I really wanted it. You see, if you don't really want it, anything can stop you. But if you don't know you want it, I'll say it one more time, if you don't know you want it and there's a bunch of obstacles, then it probably isn't a sincere desire. If you know beyond a shadow of a doubt you want it, but it looks like things are coming up, those are just ego tricks to make you think you can't have it, and you don't let it stop you. And we all ought to be conscious enough to know that we only want things that are rooted in peace and love. So it isn't even about, what if I really want something that's really bad for me? We're not talking about bad for you. We're talking about love for you. We're talking about peace for you. Right? Okay.
One more question.
Yeah.
What about that idea, though, that the things that you want the absolute most in life are also the things that terrify you the most?
They terrify your ego the most, because your ego is the part of you that doesn't think you deserve anything that gives you joy. So when you say, I get terrified, this is really deep. You are love. It's only your ego that can be terrified. But we identify with our ego, that idea, the part of us we think is separate and afraid. So we'll say stuff like, I'm terrified of it. But the truth is, it's just your ego that's terrified of it. the part of you that doesn't know that you are an unlimited spiritual being that's totally and only love gets scared. And okay, and one more thing. So you make a mistake and it isn't the thing that's the best for you. So what?
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. So what? It ain't like it's the end of the world. Yeah, it's like, okay, I did that. That didn't work. I think I'll do something else now. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming out, Holy Spirit. Y'all so cool. You're a blessing. Sunday at 1 o'clock, my Course in Miracles class. And I do a radio show on 10 o'clock on every Monday. That's called Wake Up with Aria. Wake Up in Love with Aria and Earl. And it's on 12 Radio, 12radio.com on the internet. So check it out sometime.
I
know.
I think it was like the Herkimer, like.
Let's go to another. That's just good. Right on at 1674 Gaylord. It doesn't make sense. Just go. Let's go to another one.
Earl, thank you so much.
You are welcome. Let me stick that on there.
You're unfulfilled.
Hey Raj, I didn't get the recording from our session.
I sent it to you.
You did?
Uh-huh. I sent it to you. I'll send it back. But I sent it to you.
Okay. What did you send it?
I sent it to the address that you sent to me with the information. The information that we were changing back and forth.
When did you send it?
A couple of days after our session.
Okay. All right, I'll share it. Yeah, I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, if not, let me know. But
Okay.
but I sent it out.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me cut this off.